The workday begins early at the Southwestern Stallion Station near Wynnewood. These ranch hands are charged with a special duty. Their responsibility is to make sure that pampered property on the stallion station is well cared for. These mounts don't like having to wait for their morning meal. The hay is imported from Texas, but the attitude here is pure Okie. Raising, breeding, and racing quarter horses has been a Sooner pastime for a century, and no one knows the art any better than Oklahoma horsemen. The morning ritual helps keep the Southwestern stallions in top shape. The care, work, and patience have paid off. This horse is a living tribute to the Southwestern operation. Bugs Alive in 75 has won more than $500,000 on the track and is now bred to 100 mares a year at $5,000 apiece. Financial success is the end result, the reward, but the making of a champion quarter horse is the challenge. And sometimes measuring up to the challenge is reward enough.
Oh, I imagine I'll be in it as long as I'm around. I love it. Some people love horses and some love dogs and some people love fishing, hunting, or whatever, and it's just one of the things that I love to do, is raise and race horses.
Raising the horses is this man's profession. Ranch manager Larry Graham oversees the breeding operation. It's a tricky and complicated job, but one Larry has adopted as his specialty.
Getting a man's mare in foal and getting the baby on the ground, taking good care of his mare while he's here, and it's just a challenge to get a mare in foal, really.
The passage of the Parimutual issue in 6 Oklahoma counties will give Sooner breeders a chance to make big money in-state for a change. So far, no Parimutual tracks have been approved, but horsemen are confident their time has come. They feel it's time to race in Oklahoma. No longer will they just be going through the paces. Kevin Ogle, Action 4 in Wynnewood.
Crowds of shoppers will continue to flock to the stores over the next month. These shoppers have come to buy, but there are others who come to steal. Shoplifting costs the retail industry $1 billion a year, and this is the time of year when shoplifting becomes a problem.
In a gift-giving time, I guess some people pay and some people prefer just to help themselves, unfortunately.
Most stores, though, have ways of dealing with those who like to help themselves. As in years past, alarm tags serve to deter and to catch shoplifters in the act. Here's a simulation. Obviously went off. How do we turn it off? And there are, of course, other methods. Video surveillance cameras keep a watchful eye on shoppers. Security personnel watch the monitors and stay in contact with floor walkers. The system works.
In all cases of an individual being apprehended for shoplifting, we do have them arrested and we do prosecute.
For these honest shoppers, prices are higher because of the shoplifting problem. A percentage is added to the price based on stolen merchandise and because it costs money to catch crooks. Remember, Big Brother or Big Sister is watching. Dan Slocum, Action 4.
vehicle. T-minus 20 seconds. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10. We have go for main engine start. 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1. Solid motor ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of Columbia and the first flight of the European Space Agency's Space Lab. The shuttle has cleared the tower.
Roger, roll. Vehicle rolling from tail south around 235 degree azimuth northeast. Roger. Altitude 1.1. All APUs running at 106% of RPM. Distance 1 mile, 2.7 nautical miles altitude. Roger.
And so as you saw there, we're now a minute into this absolutely gorgeous flight.
Well, when you get a free labor, why not? Would you like it? Well, let me have that so we can... This year, like we do every year, we've been doing this for the last 5 years now. So it's just going to be the traditional Christmas dinner. It'll be roast turkey, cornbread dressing, and giblet gravy and vegetables. So it's all just Christmas turkey dinner and all the trimmings that goes with it.
Putnam City was one of those school districts making great progress. Class sizes were reduced, and Stan Bryant's 9th grade algebra class felt comfortable at 30 students. But now Stan Bryant fears large class size, a cutback in programs, and reductions in teacher salaries. He was one of those teachers who campaigned for the tax hike because he thought the students' future was at stake.
I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but things are going to happen now, even in a district that has done as well as we have here in Putnam City.
Higher education is also worried. Chancellor Joe Leone had submitted a report earlier this year saying 1,300 employees might have to be laid off. Now he fears the layoffs may come sooner.
So I would expect by January that some of the colleges and universities, in their cost containment measures, will have some personnel actions, either not filling vacancies, which many of them have been practicing all year, or having to let some people go, or make people part-time that were full-time, or maybe I've heard them talk about furloughs.
All in all, it is a dismal outlook for education. Educators would much rather work with plus signs than minus signs. Bella Shaw, Action 4.
They have contacted numerous agencies, and each one says we're not the proper authority for you to contact. They identify someone else. So they end up making 5 or 6 phone calls and not really knowing who can help them.
Finding the right agency to help, one of the many frustrations that goes along with child snatching. Identifying a child suspected missing, beginning a search for a missing child, obtaining legal advice, or just finding someone to talk to. All dilemmas for victims of this all-too-common problem. The Child Find organization has a book available for a fee to help identify missing children, and that organization can also help lead a parent in the right direction. There are, of course, legalities involved in recovering a missing child, and appropriate agencies to spell out the law. And there are people to talk to. If you have a question and would like it forwarded to an agency with the answer, you can write to me, Dan Slocum, in care of KTVY Television, P.O. Box 14068, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73113. We'll do our best to get an answer to your question. Dan Slocum, Action 4.
Last year, the state's unemployment benefit funds were threatened with bankruptcy. Now, some people are concerned that the budget crises may jeopardize the funds again. But officials at the Employment Securities Commission say there is no need for concern. Unemployment benefits are taken from an account that is paid into by state employers. The state itself is taxed just like any private company that puts people to work or lays people off. And that special account is secure.
The fund, of course, is an aggregation of all of the revenues that accrue to the fund. In other words, the taxes collected from the private employers plus the taxes collected from the state agencies.
If the state lays off some of its workers, that will cause an additional drain on the fund. But during the last regular session of the legislature, state agencies were given the authority to furlough their employees without pay 1 day a month. That option would allow an agency to save on personnel costs without putting any more workers into the unemployment lines. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
I did get that thing for you, didn't I? What?
3 major utility companies went before the Corporation Commission this fall asking for rate increases. In each case, the State Attorney General's office was there, contesting the requests. State lawyers feel they did some real good during the hearings. Attorney General Mike Turpin is confident the state's appearance made an impact on the Commission and the utilities.
The only way to challenge a case is to put on a case of your own. You got to go cross-examine their case, but you've also got to put on witnesses, you got to put on, evidence, and go over there with some law books. So I've always felt like the fairest proceeding of all is a proceeding where both sides are very effectively examined. I think it helps make the utility company a better company. I really do. We challenge them to cut out the fat and leave the muscle. And I think us working with the Commission and the Commission staff over there in that way is a better result, a fairer result for the utility company, really, but also, of course, the ratepayer.
The jury is still out on how effective the AG staff was in the Bell case, but Turpin is hopeful the effort will pay off when the Commission comes back with their final decision. Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
Someone pumped 6 or 7 bullets into Larry Ellis on the night of September 7th. The state is trying to prove that 26-year-old Ronald J. Hope and 26-year-old Kendall Wayne Vowell committed the murder during a crime spree. The alleged spree included murder, armed robbery, burglary, and arson. Today's most dramatic testimony came from the victim's wife, Sue Ellis. Mrs. Ellis testified she and her husband were stopped by a young man with car trouble that night. Larry Ellis took his wife home and then returned to help the motorist. Sue Ellis tearfully testified how she found her husband's bullet-riddled body. Mrs. Ellis said she could not positively identify the young man who had been stranded. However, she picked Ronald Hope as the person in the courtroom who most closely resembled the man who her husband tried to help.
No, like 450. Yeah, 75. If you only got 400, would you get 410? 475. 250, would you give 75? 55, would you give 75? Would you give 55? 300, would you give 25? 3, would you give 5? 55, I got 300 down here, would you give 25? 300, would you give 25? Sold it, $300. Number 12. Number 12. 275, would you give 3? We're buying them, we're not leasing them. Boy, I guarantee you they've leased for a lot more. Sure. You do it? You sure? 440? One time? He says no. 440 anywhere? 440? 435?
Tonight's the night for Ron Apps. This Oklahoma State engineering student from Choctaw has been working for this moment since Thanksgiving. He and his family have spent hours stringing 50,000 lights around their home. And now it's almost time to flip the switch and let the show begin. He went over his project one more time this evening, checking every detail, including the computer-controlled Santa Claus, who will check his list twice and wave to the crowd. Ron got his inspiration from Ski Island, where residents light up the northwest side of the city every Christmas.
I just liked all the lights out there, and I decided to make my house look like that. And it came true last year. I was able to purchase a bunch of lights. Hopefully the whole yard will light up, all 1.5 acres.
When Ron was satisfied everything was as it should be, he made his way to the heavy-duty breaker box designed for the display, and his special dream became a reality.
There's a man to follow in suit. This is a young man you want to follow as well.
The 25th Annual National Finals Rodeo means a lot to Oklahoma City. It's been held here for the last 19 years and is a coveted event, as well it should be. This year it generated $1 million a day for the city, matching 105 contestants against each other, each determined to capture a chunk of the $806,000 in prize money that's been dangled before them.
Well, I just appreciate all the money that they give us and all the Oklahoma City, the people and everything. They've been real good to us and have done a lot for the finals.
Next year?
Yeah, I'll be back next year.
All right, here's your 1980 World Champion.
But money aside, there's a certain spirit that hovers over this arena, one of determination to be the best amongst the best, in spite of some of the hardships. Especially ring injuries, like a broken neck, which has not dulled Bob Logue's ambitions.
My first thing is I wanted to live, and then after that I wanted to be able to get up and walk. And it's just like a staircase, just like anything else. You have to start one place, and you have to have an ultimate goal, but you have to walk the stairs up to the goal. And my goal is still the World's Championship, what it's always been.
117,000 people have watched over the last 10 days, and they'll get their chance again. Rodeo, it seems, belongs here in Oklahoma City and is coming back next year. Terry Cook, Action 4.
Come back with other areas, mainly what your packet information calls for. Hopefully, the legislature will be responsible in attuning their actions to the needs of education. Items other than payroll. We wanted to give you a report this afternoon and noon at 2. Okay?
Crime goes on. They're getting ready to turn a bunch of thieves loose out of the penitentiary. They'll be coming home to Oklahoma County, a lot of them. With the cutback in our ability to prosecute and the cutback in the corrections operation, a lot more of them are going to be staying on the street. And the only reasonable expectation is that crime is going to go up as a result of these budget cuts.
I'm going to send it to you confined under the supervision of Department of Corrections County.
Is this about right? Yes. This is then, when you see your shadow, this is where you need to start measuring your skid marks.
Because of recently passed state laws, Oklahoma City police trainees are learning how to handle traffic investigations with much more care. For the first time, state troopers are being assigned to teach police recruits the do's and don'ts when investigating a traffic accident. Police are being instructed to learn more about the physical evidence at traffic scenes. Trooper Don Hewitt explains why special training was ordered.
Well, we have lawyers that are specializing in accident investigation, traffic accidents, so if we go to the stand, we have to be more precise and explain why this accident happened. So that's why I stated for it is a scientific accident investigation.
What police write in accident reports could determine the outcome of insurance claims and lawsuits. The 31 trainees realize as officers their findings could involve millions of dollars in some cases. For that reason, no longer will there be crash courses for accident investigations. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
The trip to Hawaii may be very awkward. I certainly don't know of any members of the administrative group any time during calendar year 83 or 82 or 81 that have taken trips. That doesn't mean that the hospital didn't subsidize a physician who went to look at a piece of equipment or looked at a service or a hospital in Hawaii or somewhere else during this time frame, but it certainly isn't a regular practice.
With the Energy Center, and it's significant because we're talking about third world countries who have energy resources, but because they do not have the technology and the know-how, have not been able to develop them. So we'll be bringing 300 to 400 people from third world countries here to the Energy Center to share with them our experience.
it obviously is another black cloud over government and just in general. Anytime anybody in one profession is found guilty of doing something wrong, it hurts the profession. And that's the same situation we have here.
You know, I love Christmas for all its pageantry, its symbolism, and its natural beauty. But what's the real best part of the whole thing? I think of that spirit of giving that makes this time of the year very special. As you all know, a tiny baby girl recently caught national attention when she waited for a crucial liver transplant operation. Unfortunately, little Ashley Bailey couldn't live long enough until that which she needed was available, and she died.
But the beautiful thing about her is that 7 other children received livers. She did not, but 7 other children are going, 8 now, there's another one, are going to live because of the appeal for Ashley.
I can't think of anything more unselfish than giving yourself through organ donation. Raymond Bourgeois would probably agree with that statement. He's the recent recipient of a brand new kidney.
Well, it's changed my life around, naturally. Before I had the organ donation, before I had a kidney transplant, I was on the hemodialysis 3 days a week, 4 hours at a time, and that went on from almost 3 years. And so naturally, I'm elated to have the kidney.
So you see, when you make a decision to become an organ donor, you're actually giving someone the potential, like Raymond, to walk, to see, and to live again.
And that way, they have been given something that only another human being can give them. It is by far the greatest gift of all.
Making the decision to become an organ donor is the first step. Now, a lot of people will then sign the back of their driver's license, but that's really not enough.
The Living Bank, may I help you?
The best way to ensure that your wishes are carried out like you want them is to contact the Living Bank in your area. Now, can you think of a better expression of giving? Isn't that what it's really all about? Think about it. I'm Dr. Red Duke. You know, there's nothing like seeing somebody's face light up on Christmas morning. You know you've really pulled it off and done something special for somebody else.
This time of the year, from now until through December, will be the time for giving. And there's nothing more important than giving of one's time.
Martha here? Yes. Anyone up in here? Oh, Martha. Okay. Yeah, I thought so.
Now, Katie Dixie is a perfect example of someone who has devoted a lifetime of giving herself to others. She's been working with children for over 30 years who have cancer.
I feel it's one of the most important things I ever did in my life. There's nothing like helping people who need help, and especially children. Who can resist children? I don't know anyone who can. And at Christmas time, the more we can do for them, the better.
Now, being a hospital volunteer is just one good example of a way that you can give of yourself and your time. taking time to visit people confined to rest homes, simply ministering to sick folks. Working with the elderly and children are all great ways to give of yourself. And it means so much, though it may seem so simple.
I don't think there's anything that can compare to the feeling I have that I have given all I could give.
Let's do one more Christmas song. Let's pretend it's real cold. And dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way.
Christmas is really a time for joy and happiness, and of course giving. Now, giving your time is an easy way to do something really special for somebody else. Have a happy and healthy Christmas, and enjoy that giving too. I'm Dr. Red Duke.